I just found the strangest woman on TikTok. Engineer.everything is a TikTok creator who also goes by the name Kala the Tunnel Girl. Over the past 2 years, she has amassed over 500,000 followers who routinely tune in to get updates on her ever-growing suburban tunnel system. I guess some people are born with a primal urge to dig until they can't anymore, and even then, they dig anyway. She quite literally yearns for the mines. She's allegedly doing this in Northern Virginia in a town called Herndon, which, according to the internet, is apparently the exact city you don't want to be doing this in.
I am about to embark on a new and complex project. I'm planning to construct a storm shelter off the side of my basement. It's going to take a very long time, a lot of engineering, and a lot of planning and work to make it happen, and I will be posting updates.
Seems simple enough. A little DIY weekend project never hurt anyone.
The shelter itself will be cut into this wall here. I will need to measure out the dimensions of the door and start cutting through the reinforced concrete blocks. This is off the side of my bunker home office. I will have to move all my equipment upstairs for at least a few weeks while this project is starting.
Not gonna lie, that home office kinda goes hard. Just surrounded by concrete. That's my sort of vibe.
Then I'm going to need to build a ramp, a wooden ramp, to go up to that window behind the green screen.
Bro, she's got an elite setup. I don't even have a green screen room. What is going on here?
The other side of the window, which is about 14 feet below ground, we will need to construct a crane and a bucket to get all of the rubble out of here and to put it into a trailer or truck. This project is going to be enormously expensive and have zero return on investment. It's something that I wanted to do, and it should be fun.
Fun fact, I couldn't actually close on my house when I bought it until an existing code violation was solved, which included the existing homeowner installing a proper railing for the basement steps. So just imagine the amount of code, zoning laws, and permits that would have to be cleared to do this project.
4 hours later, we have the dimensions of the door for the storm shelter marked out.
I've never seen someone on social media with this level of conviction. Oh, I'm gonna build a mine shaft? No, we're starting today.
And have cleared out all the furniture and equipment and papers and stuff from the basement. What we have remaining is covered with plastic. And now we are going to need to build the lift outside of the window to lift up all the dirt and rocks.
She then starts cutting a door, which little did she know at the time, unless this is 100% premeditated, would serve as the portal to her void.
I still have so long to go.
You may be wondering, what is that sheet of plastic behind the cinder blocks? That's waterproofing.
Finally, the opening in the wall is complete. Now it is time to cut the waterproof membrane and see what is behind the wall. At this point, I am fairly apprehensive because I do not know what is at the other side of the membrane.
A dwarf. Hiding.
There could be water buildup. There could be a lot of loose rock. I'm not exactly sure until I cut it open. At this point, I see that it is pretty dry, and that's really a good sign because there was previously a lot of moisture going through this wall, and I was concerned that there may be plenty of water here, but it doesn't appear to be the case.
A lot of you may be wondering, what is the point of all this? And that is a great question.
After chipping through the backfilled concrete, the rock behind is coming into view.
She's playing Minecraft IRL. Most of the time, I would say, this is what happens when a dude gets no pussy. But it's quite honestly the inverse. This is what happens when a woman gets no dick. Yeah, it's mean, but it's true. So, I don't make the rules.
There are layers of shale and sandstone behind the wall. Very dry, but also very hard. Fortunately, I have the right tools to break it, although I wish I had some dynamite.
I find it interesting that somebody in the comments asked if she was ever diagnosed with autism, and she replied no. Not saying that would explain something, but let's not pretend that this is neurotypical behavior. I really don't think you or anyone you know in your immediate vicinity is compelled to dig to Middle Earth.
Working on the storm shelter.
Wait a second. She already had a storm shelter. It's called her basement.
Got a few feet excavated out. Putting it all in a pile.
That is so much rock. Is it fun to dig into the stone? Is that part of the motivation? And she really hit us with yes.
We finally started working on the elevator. The elevator is supported by 2 6x6 pillars and 1 laminated beam made out of 2x10s.
What the actual fuck?
The beam is around 300 pounds and will support the hoist mechanism and the elevator cart.
No, I simply can't believe it. This is the type of work only a seasoned kobold would do.
So we're running into some problems that have put us into a dead halt. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of water seepage. It's not a blocker, but it is irritating. We have run out of space for excavated rock and have to get the elevator working now.
I love how she started to narrate these videos by saying, we? Who's we?
I am going to weld a mine elevator cart for my basement project.
If there's one thing I learned from Kala, the tunnel girl, it's never challenge her to do something. I don't know the first thing about welding, but all I know is you're not supposed to do it in your house.
Using sheet metal and angle iron per the scale model that I created first. I am fabricating in my laundry room, so space is very tight. The new outlet is working very well.
You see, that's no problem for Kala because all she had to do was rewire her entire basement and add a new outlet powerful enough to power her welding equipment.
You can have a concept in your mind, but until it's built and tested in the physical world, there's no way to know whether it will work or not. I hope this is going to be able to carry at least 1,000 pounds. So far, the hoist, cable, box, and main beam are all supporting the weight without any trouble. I think this is going to work well. There are a couple of minor kinks that need to be worked out before we can use the box. One is it is swinging a little bit and rotating in the shaft, which is going to be hard to control without some sort of tracks. And also need to design a hopper so that when the hatch opens up, that all the rock will dump into the bed of a truck.
Where are her neighbors? How are you doing this? Sprinkled throughout her feed are also videos of her failures, like her jackhammer malfunctioning, her kitchen being destroyed because she's welding an elevator in it, and her framing collapsing. Under the assumption that she has zero help, this is an entire Saturday and Sunday gone. How do you fix this? How does she lift this? We would be here all night if we went through every single video and analyzed her engineering techniques to create this absolute force of nature.
13 feet of excavation is now complete. We are making good progress on the storm shelter and have excavated a second pile of rock. This is approximately 10 cubic yards, and we have a dumpster arriving tomorrow. I recently bought a brand new concrete mixer, and it is saving an exceptional amount of time mixing concrete for the walls, unloading rock, removing the second dumpster completely full.
It's astounding to me that there are people in our society, humans that walk among us, that think this is worth spending their time on.
Working below the water table requires constant water management. Here I've set up a small utility pump.
She's fucking operating below the water table and she's pumping it out of her basement. That is wreaking havoc on her immediate environment. Neighbors? No. Fuck them. The town of Herndon? Fuck them.
And a garden hose to pump water out of the storm shelter excavation into a settling tank. This is just a rain barrel that I bought on Amazon, and I'm using it to filter out any sediments in the water.
This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen on social media.
Before it slowly drains into the main pumping station under this manhole cover.
I need to know why she sounds exactly like Heimerdinger. Without a doubt, the most important question in this entire saga is Kala qualified to do this work? No, she has a finance degree and she is not an engineer. She is a software engineer who codes on a computer. When I tell you she's winging it, she is fucking winging it.
I need to run some electrical wiring to my storm shelter. I got some 14 gauge underground rated wiring. It should be perfect for running through the conduits. At first, the wire is feeding smoothly into the conduit, but as I start going further, it's getting increasingly tangled and twisted, and that is adding to friction, and I'm having a very hard time pushing it through. Let's start over again with some fresh wire. Now I'm rolling the spool as I'm feeding it through, and that's avoiding it getting twisted. I need to pull the wire through this T-section, but fortunately I have a specialized tool just for it.
I have electricians in my family, and I am scared to ask them what they think of this.
I just got back in town after a few days Christmas travel, and the storm shelter is filling with water. The water looks dark and terrible like sewer water. I better start pumping. I seriously need to get a new hose. Fortunately, the pump started right up without any issues. You know what? I'm fed up with adjusting this every time, so I'm going to use my backup wire cutters to cut this once and for all. Now that the hose is no longer obstructed with a kink, the water is flowing much more freely into the main central sump system.
She has a wishing well down there. Hello?
At 22 feet in depth, the storm shelter is finally taking shape. We received a shipment of steel for my various fabrication projects.
It's not like she's living in the middle of nowhere. This is suburbia. I just saw her neighbor's house.
And cut a 3/8 inch structural angle for the door lintel.
What in the parasite are we witnessing right now? And I know I'm dropping a lot of film references, but please, you need to understand them.
Originally, I was going to build the ceiling of the storm shelter out of solid concrete blocks arranged in an arch, but I got a lot of comments in a previous video favoring a poured concrete ceiling instead. So I think that is a good idea, and we'll be doing that instead. For those that asked, this is a simple elevation that shows the storm shelter in relation with the existing house.
Phase 1?
I've been working on this project since August, and it's amazing how far we've come.
Could just be me, but I think you have other problems besides a storm. I think you're covered on that front. I don't think you're even gonna get wet from the rain. I don't even think you're gonna hear the wind from down there. One of my biggest pet peeves with TikTok, and yes, it is specific to TikTok, is this unrelenting dedication to the bit. Anything for the meme. Whenever you find a quirk chungus on TikTok, they always have this aloof, glazed over personality where everything is fine and dandy. You're building a fucking tunnel system under your house? Please, answer some questions. They never fail to make you, the audience, the person commenting on their post, engaging with their content, feel as if you're the crazy one. As if she's not fucking spelunking into limestone under her house.
I'm in a tunnel with 5,000 pounds of wet concrete over my head, and the only thing separating me from becoming a pancake is my own engineering.
Imagine you match with her on Tinder or Hinge. You go on a date to Olive Garden because you already know that's where she would want to go. The date goes well and she takes you back to her fucking mine shaft? Her crypt? No one is believing you.
I tied 1,000 feet of rebar with 500 feet of wire to make the reinforced concrete walls and ceiling of my storm shelter more stormproof. And my hands are incredibly tired. Now that all the reinforcements are in place, it's time to make the steel forms. I punched a hole in the plastic membrane and installed a giant funnel for reasons. Wherever I had corners, I spliced in stainless steel angles. The entrance tunnel blockwork is going to interface cleanly with the reinforced poured concrete.
Where do you go to learn this? What forums are you visiting? Who do you turn to? The Miners Guild?
I've come to know a new drawback using fiberglass rebar. Apologize for the poor camera work. This is my first time using a fire extinguisher and I'm a bit in a panic.
Forget about flooding or your entire house turning into a sinkhole. Apparently, DIY mine shafts can spontaneously combust. The more you read about the dangers of this, the more insane it gets. There's radon, there's mold, there's risk of collapse, you're underneath the fucking water table, your neighbors, hello, somebody please give me answers.
We are now in my normal looking basement. I'm renovating this room, it's a bit haunted. And off the side of the laundry room is a hoarded bedroom and my workshop. Moving further back is my home office and the entrance to the sub-basement. Everything on this side of the house was built by me a few years ago.
I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if the camera panned over and we got a glimpse of her canary breeding operation to complement her mine shaft.
This is the entrance to the tunnel system, and to the side is the steampunk mechanical box. The entrance tunnel goes down a decline 30 feet in and 10 feet down.
You know what? I'm starting to think you should be allowed to do whatever you want with your property. Is Kala the Tunnel Girl based?
I have a new problem in my suburban mind.
Jesus Christ!
It is not this water, but rather that I am getting out of range of the minecart. Every castle building stone has to be carried up this tunnel to the antechamber. The minecart ramp only extends here.
Yeah, how could I forget? With the excess stone and rubble that she's excavating, she's using it to reinforce her house into a castle.
And the minecart itself has a fairly large turning radius, so I'm planning on building a tilt-a-whirl to rotate the cart in the antechamber. Before I can do that, I need to finish pouring the ceiling. I previously pumped the walls and had a few issues, but I learned from my mistakes and am going to do better this time. And here is some beautifully curved rebar. For the rotating floor, I'm planning on installing a steel dish embedded into the concrete. I could use a rotor and spindle or a round plate connected to some gear mechanism like an old Bessemer mill.
Imagine you come home after a long day's work to your wife and kids, you have a nice dinner together, you lay down to get some shut-eye, and all you fucking hear is Kala the Tunnel Girl spurging out with a jackhammer, trying to fucking break through the mantle.
I have an update on the permit situation. In December, I was working on my tunnel and received a stop work order that required me to apply for permits and get an engineering assessment to...
Thank God. No, if I'm being honest, inside of me are two wolves. One of them is like, shut it down. The other is like, I want to see how far she can get.
To ensure the house is safe. This has been heavily publicized here on TikTok.
It's almost as if showcasing your secret tunnel to the entire world, aka millions of people on the internet, doesn't really make it a secret, now does it?
The engineering assessment is particularly important because I wasn't supposed to occupy the basement until it's been determined to be safe. I was fortunate to find a qualified engineer within a week to visit my tunnel and provide an assessment. The report concluded that the structure of the tunnel is sufficient to support the rock and that the rock itself is stable and showing no sign of shifting.
Yeah, there's just no way. And as of right now, that is the latest update on Tunnel Girl. So there's a couple of problems, and we've identified some of them already. But let me remind you that 1, she is not an engineer and has a finance degree and works as a software engineer. Number 2, her house is allegedly on a 1/4 acre lot. She is not in the middle of nowhere, and yes, she has neighbors who are aware of her tunnel system and are pretty pissed about it. Number 3, she is without a doubt already causing irreversible damage to the structural integrity of her entire neighborhood. Number 4, she is single-handedly lowering the water table, which is destroying her immediate environment. And lastly, this goes without saying, she could be evaporated at any moment. Although Kala seems to have a lot of supporters, there is a growing body of people that believe she is a serial liar. And she apparently blocks anyone who is critical of her. So there you have it. We're looking at the winner of 2024's Darwin Award, fueled by a social media-induced ego trip.